Hi, everyone. This is, oh, Hi, everyone. This is 15, excuse me, not 15, 5 minute Phillips. 15-minute Phillips is another series that I'm doing. This is 5 minute Phillips. My first one last week wound up going for 30. I promise today's just going to be five, maybe a couple minutes longer, but certainly not for 30 minutes. This is me trying to do what I can to offer the material that I teach and train and coach with across the country with professional caregivers and family caregivers to provide support. But today I want to talk about some of the tragic news from over the weekend. Many of you've seen the news by now, the article about Dr. Lorna Breen, the emergency department medical director from a large hospital system in New York who committed suicide over the weekend. You can read the details of the story yourself. But I posted about that late last night when I got the news because I was angry. And the response has been very positive. I appreciate all the words that you've shared and the ideas that you've been placing in the comments at my request. So I ask you to do that the same here. But what I want to do is just read that post to you and then invite you again to please share in your comments what you've learned of things that you can do to build your own resilience and self-care and take care of yourself, even during the most traumatic of situations. Not that it's going to make it all puppies and ponies, poopies and ponies other, but puppies and ponies and make it all better, but that at least we can do something. What are the things that we can do to make things better in the midst of the trauma and the moral injury that healthcare workers are experiencing right now? But I got angry. And so I just want to read that post to you. I teach that before we can show up well for others, we have to first show up well for ourselves. But I also want to be very clear that the system is broken. This isn't just breathe and do a gratitude list and everything will be fine. No, the system is broken and we need to fix it. So let me just pull up the post and read that to you. And that'll be our time for today. And I'll continue to do these posts if there's something in particular that you'd like to hear, but I'll be breaking up my content and trying to share information with you as I can using this format, and appreciate you letting me practice using this format to try to get the information out. So last night I wrote this. I said, this is not depression. That blames the victim. This is a broken and toxic system that we've co-created that rewards overfunctioning and martyrdom with Employee of the Year awards and punishes healthy boundaries and self-care. It's a medical industrial complex that teaches us to feel guilty for being human rather than preparing us for and protecting us from the moral injury of impossible care scenarios and secondary trauma. This is years of formal and informal education and modeling by managers and colleagues that day by day instills the idea that they don't get to care for themselves or practice their own resilience and must instead suck it up and keep being a hero and to feel guilty about not being there to help their team. So they never really get time off, even when they go home after their shift. This is a culture that applauds with memes and parades, but fails to vote for leaders that adequately fund healthcare and rein in the negative aspects of corporatized governance models. This is on us, not the virus. We can do better. We must. I was speaking to a group of advanced care nurses and nurse practitioners last week. When I spoke about self-care as more than a fuzzy woo-woo good idea, but as in fact our greatest clinical competence, there was a stunned, breathless silence for several long seconds. One of their leaders finally said, I've been a nurse for 25 years, and what you're telling me is something I've never thought of. That not only do we have permission to do self-care, you're required to, as your most critical ethical mandate, I said. Because if you don't show up well for you, there's no way in hell you can ever show up well for others. Even in a crisis, she said. Especially in a crisis, I replied. Yeah, we got to do better, a hell of a lot better. We're not playing anymore. Time to double down and get our stuff out there to do what we can to invite changes in all this. And so I said last night that first I was going to practice what I teach and put down the post and go to rest for the night before waking up and working like hell today. But I came back pretty quickly and did a quick update on that post because I said, I believe it's irresponsible to complain without offering solutions and things folks can do to make a positive difference. I was so angry because some of the news articles were talking about Dr. Breen having about if people are depressed, have them call the suicide hotline. And while I'm grateful they were referencing that and highlighting the need for people to get support if they felt suicidal, but I just thought this is not suicide. We're missing the boat. Even as well-meaningly, her organization was praising her tireless dedication. We're tireless dedicationing ourselves into the grave, and we've got to stop it. We've got to find a different way. And so, what are the things, though, that we can do to be a part of changing the system? And this is where I'm going over my 5 minutes, but again, I promise it'll be less than 30, and I'll keep working on doing this. Y'all know me. Y'all know I don't suffer from brevity. But I asked people to add to this list, and this was my quick brainstormed list last night, angry and frustrated and sad and hurting about the state of this and this physician my age who, yeah, go read the stories. But I said, one, up your own self-care game to model it and give permission for others to do the same. Two, ask award nominating committees to add a selection criteria that also assesses how well someone exemplifies healthy self-care, even while working hard to do good. Three, take off the stoic masks we use to try to protect ourselves and practice the courage to be vulnerable and human and admit your limits and ask for help to create a culture where others feel more safe to do so themselves. Someone has to go first and show the way. Four, practice mindfulness and resilient ways of thinking in the workplace and invite others to join you. Pause outside a room to breathe and ground for 20 seconds before entering, and then for 20 seconds after leaving, to hand the persons you're caring for into others' hands, their own, the universe, a deity, the next shift. I don't care, something, somewhere, so you're not carrying every person with you. Five, go home when sick, rest when tired, drink when thirsty, eat when hungry. P, unplug from email and phone when off duty. Find safe places to debrief and cry and vent and process and ask for support. Six, ask for that self-care be part of regular performance evaluations. Seven, shift the language around busyness and exhaustion, as in Brene Brown's words, badges of honor, and take off the superhero capes that strangle us and the halos that weight us down. 8, check in on each other and ask others to do the same for you. 9, find other champions to join you. 10, grieve when you need and celebrate yourself and others whenever you can. So grieve when you need and celebrate when you can, both yourself and others. And 11, add other ideas to the list and the comments. So a couple of friends from that post, and you can see it's earlier in my timeline from last evening, but others said things like cultivate hobbies that bring you joy and allow yourself to enjoy them daily or weekly. And my friend Kathy said mine are resources that are always available. A place to swim outside in the early mornings means I get to see the sunrise every day and on the daily. And so that her week is more about live music and dancing, which we can't engage in right now, but I know my dancing friends are actually dancing in their living rooms. And she said it took my having a stress-induced heart attack while on the job to allow me to allow myself these human pleasures. Another friend, my friend Heidi, who's a nurse practitioner, said, advice for leaders. She said her husband checks in with each of his directors daily, always asking them first about how they and their families are doing, that he did this even before the pandemic. He created an environment where his team knows that he puts family first, and they should as well. They know that he has their back if they need anything. And so they in turn want to do their best at work. And this modeling needs to happen from the top down. But we can also do this. I'm actually will argue editorial comment. We can also do this from the ground up. There are more of us than there are of the leadership, and we can't just rely on leadership to do this. We get to co-create this by also taking part in doing this ourselves. But I also get where Heidi's coming from. It is most helpful if leadership also supports it. And she said from reading the article that it sounds like Dr. Breen was very good about checking in with her team, even when she was sick herself. But I highly doubt she was getting that from her leaders. Sadly, healthcare is notorious for not taking care of its own. She said, I know as a nurse that the phrase nurses eat their young is all too true, not just of nurses, but doctors and other healthcare professionals. And so we want to do things differently, and we get to be the change that we want to see. All right, I've almost doubled my time of 5-minute fill-ups, but hopefully something here has been helpful. I'll keep practicing with getting better at this format, but thanks for letting me do the rough drafts here. Please put in the comments what you think needs to be done done. Again, it's not just about blaming others. Focus on the things that we can do, the things that we can change, the things that we can do something about, so that we internalize our locus of control and keep our power rather than giving it away by getting caught up in the seduction of the blame game and making everyone else at fault and responsible. I'll be talking more about that in future fill-ups. All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening, and take care. Peace.